Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Authorities in the tiny country of Vatican City say that a man has been arrested and is under medical evaluation this week after he breached security by ramming his vehicle through one of the city's entrances at a high rate of speed. According to reports, the suspect, an unidentified man in his 40s, had tried to get into the Vatican at least 2 times earlier that day on May 18th, though was turned away by Swiss guards. It's unclear what exactly he said during these interactions, though some reports allege that he was trying to speak with the Pope. Later that evening, at around 8 p.m., the man reportedly returned, only this time he was behind the wheel of a vehicle. Without warning, he allegedly accelerated towards one of the entrances, breaching Santa Anna Gate, as well as a second checkpoint near the back of St. Peter's Basilica. Officials say that guards fired at the suspect's vehicle, though were unable to stop him until he reached the San Damaso courtyard, which is part of the Apostolic Palace, where previous popes lived and where Pope Francis still apparently holds official meetings. It was here that the suspect was finally arrested and taken to the Vatican's small jail. While little additional information is available about the crime at this time, authorities say that the man was, quote, experiencing a serious state of psychophysical alteration at the time it took place. He reportedly remains in custody, though is being evaluated by medical personnel. Authorities in the Australian state of New South Wales are appealing to the public for information this week as they seek to track down the suspects behind a terrifying home invasion that took place earlier this year. According to reports, the incident began shortly before 1:15 a.m. on March 4th, when a group of at least 5 men forced their way into a residence on Forbes Street in the town of Muswellbrook. They were armed with machetes, knives, hammers, and a pole, and once inside, allegedly proceeded to carry out a vicious attack against the home's occupants while demanding money and other valuables. Police say that 4 victims, identified only as a 59-year-old man, a 47-year-old woman, a 20-year-old man, and a 19-year-old woman, all sustained injuries and had to be taken to a local hospital after the nightmarish ordeal. 2 dogs belonging to the homeowners were also wounded and were treated by a veterinarian. The suspects, meanwhile, got away. This week, police released surveillance footage of an unknown man taken right before the incident, who they say that they are now trying to track down in connection with the crime. It's unclear if authorities believe that this person was involved in the home invasion or whether they simply think he might have witnessed something that could help them find the suspects. A 29-year-old woman was previously arrested in connection with the case after she allegedly used a debit card stolen from the victims at a gas station in Wellington on April 6th. The unidentified woman has since been charged with 2 counts of dishonestly obtaining property by deception and receiving property of theft. Anyone with information about the case is encouraged to contact Muswellbrook Police or to reach out through Crime Stoppers. Representatives from England's Nottinghamshire Police are appealing to the public for information this week, nearly a month after the skeletal remains of an unidentified man were discovered in a countryside field. According to reports, the case began on April 26th when a man carrying out construction work at a farm property in the town of Sutton-in-Ashfield made the grisly find while moving earth in a JCB digger. The skeletal remains were found buried at least 6 feet deep, with several articles of clothing still intact. Based on an examination of the remains, investigators say that they believe the male victim was murdered, owing to undisclosed injuries to the skeleton. They also say that evidence suggests that the victim was buried more than 5 years ago. At the current time, police are still working to identify the man, who they say was roughly 5 foot 4 inches to 5 foot 7 inches tall, and between the ages of 40 and 60 at the time of his death. So far, they have been able to rule out at least 3 possible missing persons in the case, including a local man named Robin Barrows Spencer, who disappeared in June of 2004. Spencer was ruled out through DNA testing. While authorities are still digging through missing persons records to uncover more potential matches, they are also now asking the public for help as well. Anyone with information about the case is encouraged to contact police or to reach out via Crime Stoppers. Representatives from the Hong Kong police force say that they are searching for a man in his 40s this week after he was accused of brutally murdering his stepmother while she was out for a walk. According to reports, the incident took place sometime after 7 p.m. on May 20th when the victim, 54-year-old Lau Hung Lee, left her home in Yuen Long district to go on her customary after-dinner walk near the May Po Nature Reserve adjacent to her house. When she failed to return, her 72-year-old husband became worried. Though before he could act, someone else called police after making a horrifying discovery. When officers arrived at the scene, they found Lau's lifeless body lying in the roadway just a little over 300 feet from her home. She had suffered several stab and cut wounds to her neck, back, wrists, and chest. While conducting a search of the scene, investigators made another grisly discovery in a grassy area about 30 yards away. There they recovered a hat, a cell phone, and the two alleged murder weapons, an electric saw and a 12-inch meat cleaver. Thanks to witness accounts, it's believed that Lau was ambushed from behind as she went out for her walk. Police now say that the suspect is the victim's stepson, identified only as a man in his 40s. At the time of this recording, police are still searching for the suspect, who they allege fled the scene immediately following the murder. They say that they are currently investigating whether anyone helped the man to flee the city. While no official explanation behind the crime has yet been released, unconfirmed reports state that a grudge between the suspect and his stepmom may have been the motive. The situation is still developing. Authorities in Japan's Nagano prefecture say that at least 3 people are dead this week following a terrifying shooting and stabbing attack. According to reports, the incident began at around 4:25 p.m. on May 25th, when police received a call about a man chasing and stabbing a woman in Nakano, located just a few miles northeast of Nagano City. When authorities arrived, they tried to save the victim. However, the suspect, an unknown man dressed in camouflage, sunglasses, and a mask, allegedly responded by opening fire with a hunting rifle. Multiple people were hit at the scene, including 2 police officers. Sadly, they, as well as the original female victim, are said to have died of their injuries. Following the shooting, the suspect reportedly barricaded himself in a nearby building. At the time of this recording, it appears that the situation is ongoing, with the status of at least one of the victims unknown. An evacuation zone with a roughly 300-yard radius has since been set up around the area of the standoff, though even those outside it have been advised not to go out for non-urgent reasons. Students at local schools had earlier been ordered to shelter in place. The situation is still developing. Authorities in the Taiwanese port city of Kaohsiung say that a foolish 47-year-old man did himself no favors this week after he was given a fine for drinking and driving, only to escalate things to criminal charges when he allegedly got behind the wheel again less than 24 hours later. According to reports, it all started on the morning of May 17th when the suspect, identified by the name Xiao, was pulled over by police while driving his scooter. A subsequent test revealed that he had a blood alcohol content of approximately 0.04%. This was technically over the country's legal limit of 0.03%, but still less than 0.05, the point at which it's considered a criminal offense. As a result, Xiao was later released after being issued a fine. Despite the close call, Xiao was apparently upset about the situation and continued drinking. After hammering back several more beers, the 47-year-old still couldn't get the fine off of his mind. However, at some point, he realized he couldn't seem to remember how much the officer had told him he was going to have to pay. He decided to solve his problem by hopping back on his scooter and driving down to the police station to find out. According to reports, it didn't take long for police to arrest Xiao for a second time. As he arrived at the station, several officers watched in disbelief as he drove on the wrong side of the road and the sidewalk before pulling right up to the front door. He also reeked of alcohol. When Xiao's blood alcohol content was tested this time, it came back as 0.13%, putting him solidly in the criminal range for drunk driving. He was promptly taken into custody and slapped with a series of charges, including drunk driving and endangering the public. Authorities in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro say that they have arrested a suspect in connection with the murder of a 54-year-old woman this week after she allegedly sent her poisoned chocolates in what authorities say was a crime of jealousy. According to reports, Suzanne Martin da Silva was arrested on May 25th, 5 days after she allegedly sent a box of poisoned chocolates and flowers to 54-year-old Lindaci Batista de Carvalho. Investigators say that Suzanne plotted the killing after she became convinced that her boyfriend, Mario Sergio, was having an affair with the victim. Local media sources state that Mario and Lindaci had previously been in a relationship for 4 years. Despite breaking up, the pair remained on good terms and kept in touch. Mario also stayed in contact with Lindaci's 2 children, and was even friendly with her ex-husband. However, after the breakup, police say that Mario got into a far less amicable situation with Suzanne. Over the past 2 years, they were reportedly off and on, and the relationship between them was toxic. Authorities say that Suzanne recently had Mario arrested after accusing him of domestic violence, though nothing else about this has been released. What we do know is that at some point Suzanne became convinced that Mario and Lindaci were having an affair. On May 20th, Suzanne allegedly hired a delivery driver to drop off a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolates at her residence in Rio's Vila Isabel neighborhood. Those chocolates reportedly contained a lethal amount of poison. After receiving the delivery, Lindaci was suspicious, especially since she didn't know who the gifts were from. However, it was her birthday, so it wasn't inconceivable that someone she knew had sent them and had simply forgotten to send a card. Lindaci called around a bit until she spoke to her ex-husband. In a tragic twist, he apparently took credit for the delivery, which made Lindaci feel comfortable enough to eat the chocolates. When she did, she quickly became ill and fell to the ground. Sadly, by the time emergency responders could get her to the hospital, she was dead. During an interview after Suzanne's arrest, she apparently did not deny the crime, though tried to claim that she had been forced by someone else to carry it out. So far, it appears that she has offered no further proof of this, and has been charged with murder. People across Guyana are in mourning this week, following a deadly fire at a school dormitory that officials now say was an arson. The incident began in the early hours of May 22nd, when the blaze tore through the girls' dormitory of a secondary school in the central mining town of Mahdia. Survivors described waking up to the sounds of screams before realizing that there was smoke and flames everywhere. Even more terrifyingly, they were trapped. According to reports, the girls' dorm was locked at the time of the incident, and the building was also equipped with covered windows. The doors were allegedly locked up every night in order to prevent the girls from sneaking out to socialize. The dorm administrator, who was apparently the only one with a key to the entrance, froze in a state of panic and couldn't find them. Firefighters were forced to smash through the walls of the building to help victims escape. Even then, it reportedly took several hours to get the fire under control due to bad weather conditions. By the time it was all over, at least 19 people were dead, most of them female students at the school. The dorm administrator's 5-year-old son was also reportedly among the victims. Investigators say that the blaze was so bad that many victims had to be identified through DNA testing. At the time of this recording, authorities say that they are still investigating the tragedy, though they now believe the incident was an arson. They say that a teenage student has since admitted to starting the fire, which was originally lit in one of the dorm's bathrooms. The teen allegedly committed the crime because her cell phone had been confiscated after school administrators discovered she was involved in an illicit relationship with an older man. The suspect has not been identified by name, though is said to be about 14 years old. She is still in the hospital with severe burns and is yet to be formally charged. The situation is still developing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.